What's easy to do is easy not to do. That's one of the keys to mental toughness. We've got to realize Ken Ravizza, one of the OGs in sports psychology, said, be where you're supposed to be, whether you feel like it or not. Mental toughness is about discipline. And there's a spiritual teacher by the name of Sadhguru that says discipline is about doing what is necessary at the current moment relative to what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to achieve. Look at this. It's my birthday present from my mom. Excited for that. It just came in the mail today, in the mail, but just showed up on my doorstep today. Come on, you wanna go out? Letting the boy out. Mental toughness. Everybody wants it. It seems like nobody knows what the heck it is. It seems like nobody knows how to work on it. A lot of people think that mental toughness is about grit and grind, and that's partially what mental toughness is. Mental toughness isn't about physically abusing your body, though. That's a big misconception. People think that mental toughness is, I just got to physically grind through things. I've got to physically push myself beyond what I'm doing right now. That's not mental toughness. See, the quote, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there is so powerful, yet so few really understand what it means. Being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there isn't about physically being somewhere. It could physically mean being somewhere, but typically we understand where we're physically supposed to be. So that's the easy part of it. Being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there is about mentally, emotionally, and spiritually being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. Now, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, what's going on, everybody? I'm Sam Nott. I help athletes on the mental game so they can master the outer game. I help them with the inner game so they can master the outer game. See, mentally being where you're supposed to be. There's, studies that say our minds think of 20, 30, 40. Some studies even say up to 80,000 different thoughts per day. So if you're an athlete and you're at practice or you're at a game, how many times is your mind going to wander? How many different times are you going to think about something in the future? How many times are you going to think about something in the past? It's going to happen a lot. Think about your last practice. Think about your last game. How many times did your mind wander? And emotionally, how many different feelings? Now, I know so many people have this idea, not people, but athletes in general have this idea of, we're not supposed to feel emotions. We're not supposed to be emotional, this and that. Well, you're a human. Every human experiences emotion, positively, negatively. It's the idea that a lot of athletes try to deny emotions and say, oh, no, I'm not going to feel any emotions. At the same time they're saying that to themselves, or at the same time they're trying to be that way, they're pissed off, they're frustrated, they're trying to be, gritty about the whole thing. And they actually are experiencing some sort of emotion at that same time. So, back to this concept, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there emotionally. What emotion do you need at your practice, at your game, to show up and to perform your best? I would challenge you and say that most of the time, the emotions that you need, you're not creating. And I challenge you, I invite you to start thinking about your emotions differently. It's not about having negative emotions or denying any sort of emotions that would take away from your game. It's about intentionally, it's about consciously taking control of what emotions you want to experience on a consistent basis. And more importantly, what emotions do you need to experience to perform right now? Whether it's a game, whether it's a practice, whether it's a tryout, what emotions do you need to perform? And start conditioning yourself, start programming yourself to experience those emotions. See, I could talk about this all day, but just to keep things simple, emotional intelligence comes from a couple of places. It comes from the images in your mind. What are you imagining? What are you seeing? Are you thinking about things in the past, things in the future that are negative? Emotions also come from self-talk. Are you talking to yourself in a negative tone that makes you feel depressed, sad, angry, frustrated? And emotions come from sensations in our body. Put yourself in a more positive position, more positive body posture. You're going to start to feel better. So, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. Mental toughness. Remember, what's easy to do is easy not to do. Make sure you're disciplining yourself. Make sure you're taking control of what's going on inside so you get the results on the outside. Appreciate you guys. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you on the next one.